Welcome to PMP Exam Practice. If you are new here, we highly recommend watching the quick intro video on how to study for scenario-based questions from these videos with the help of Excel sheets and YouTube timestamps, plus some quick easy tips before your exam day. Link in the description. The time limit given is about 1 minute for each answer. If you are new to this video, we recommend that you keep it playing and listen to each explanation to fully understand the scenario and the appropriate choice. If this is a review, then mute the sound, use the timestamp to navigate between the questions, and train yourself to read and answer each question in 1 minute. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications for new exam updated questions. Good luck! You have recently been assigned as the project manager for a new shopping mall construction project. Since the project will span well over 5 years, you are a bit hesitant to use the current market rates for estimating construction materials cost. The prices have been steadily increasing and the current market rates might not remain valid in the future. Which of the following techniques can you apply to determine the project budget? A. Conduct a trend analysis on the cost of materials and use that to extrapolate the cost of materials in the future. B. Determine the cost of the project using current market rates and increase the total budget by some factor. C. Compute the net present value of the cost of materials and use that to determine the project budget. D. Use rolling wave planning to determine the budget as the project progresses. The correct answer is A. Conduct a trend analysis on the cost of materials, and using that to extrapolate the cost of materials in the future is the best response. Trend analysis is used to forecast future based on past results. This is most probably the only choice available to you if you are required to determine the project budget today. Other choices are incorrect as they can produce better results. A project manager is estimating project costs and needs to decide whether the estimates will include direct costs only or include indirect costs as well. In which of the following phases does this decision need to take place? A. Define scope. B. Estimate costs. C. Plan expenses. D. Determine budget. The correct answer is B. This is done in the estimate costs process. The project manager works in accordance with the organization's guidelines and decides whether the estimates will be limited to direct project costs only or whether the estimates will also include indirect costs. Indirect costs are those that cannot be traced to one specific project and are usually allocated equitably over multiple projects. The client asks you to inflate the budget by at least 10% because there is a chance that his management will reduce it by 10%. What will your response be in this situation? A. You will increase the budget by 10%. B. You will increase the budget by 5%. C. You will give the exact budget with the basis for it. D. To be on the safe side, you will increase it by 15%. The correct answer is C. Whatever the situation, you will always provide the correct figure to the client. However, you will include the detailed description of how have you calculated the cost. You may also include the risks that the project may have if the budget is reduced. You have a project in which you are responsible for building a condo complex in a resort town. The project is expected to take 2 years to complete. During your work breakdown structure meeting, you have decomposed many deliverables into work packages and schedule activities. However, some work packages will occur a year from now, so you have elected not to decompose those deliverables and work packages at this time. This is an example of what tool or technique? A. Scope creep. B. Poor planning. C. Rolling wave planning. D. Time-delayed decomposition. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is rolling wave planning. Rolling wave planning is a form of progressive elaboration and is used when the project management team does not have enough information for a phase or deliverable that will occur far into the future. In any project, there are numerous types of cost expenditures involved. Out these costs, which cost is more difficult to manage for a project manager? A. Cost of materials. B. Cost of equipment. C. HR cost. D. Overhead cost. The correct answer is D. The first 3 costs are under the project manager's control, so they can be managed under the manager's authority. However, the overhead cost, which includes the cost of electricity, office rent, etc., are beyond the project manager's control. These costs are controlled by the organization, so the project manager cannot control them. You are managing a heavy equipment manufacturing project that involves many mechanical, electrical, and IT staff. Your team prepared a schedule network diagram using duration estimates with dependencies and constraints. Your team also calculated the critical path for the project using late and early values. Today, your project office has indicated to you that some of the resources you had planned for the project will be unavailable. To deal with this, you explore the possibility of modifying the schedule to account for limited resources. What is your best possible step in such a situation? A. Recalculate critical path after applying the resource constraints. B. Perform resource leveling to account for limited resources. C. Use crashing or fast tracking to level resources across the project. D. Apply leads and lags to develop a viable schedule. The correct answer is A. The critical path method is used to prepare a schedule network diagram. A network diagram is prepared initially, and the critical path is then calculated. Availability of resources is entered, and a resource-limited schedule is prepared. Hence, recalculating the critical path using the critical path method after applying the resource constraints is the next best step. The amount of time that a schedule activity can be delayed or extended from its early start date without delaying the project finish date or violating a schedule constraint. A. Free lag. B. Free float. C. Negative float. D. Total float. The correct answer is D. Total float. The amount of time that a schedule activity can be delayed or extended from its early start date without delaying the project finish date or violating a schedule constraint. In your project, you have two activities, D and E. These two activities have a common successor. Activity F. Activity D will be completed on the 10th and Activity E will be completed on the 15th. Therefore, Activity D can be delayed by 5 days without affecting the early start of Activity F. This delay is known as A. Total float. B. Free float. C. Time period. D. Feeding buffer. The correct answer is B. Free float is an amount of time that an activity can be delayed without affecting the early start of the next activity. Total float is an amount of time that an activity can be delayed without affecting the project completion date. The project buffer is placed between the last task and the project completion date as a non-activity buffer, and this buffer acts as a contingency for the critical chain activities. Any delay on the critical chain will eat this buffer, but the project completion date will remain unchanged. Feeding buffers are added to the non-critical chain so that any delay on the non-critical chain does not affect the critical chain. They are inserted between the last task on a non-critical chain and the critical chain. In a finish-to-start relationship between predecessor and successor activities, a project manager decides to schedule a successor activity 5 days before its predecessor is complete. This is accomplished by providing 5 days of A. Lag. B. Load. C. Fast tracking. D. Lead. The correct answer is D. A lead allows an early start of the successor activity. All costs incurred over the life of the product by investment in preventing non-conformance to requirements, appraisal of the product or service for conformance to requirements, and failure to meet requirements. A. Budget at completion, BAC. B. Cost of errors, COE. C. Cost of quality, COQ. D. Total cost, TC. The correct answer is C. Cost of quality. All costs incurred over the life of the product by investment in preventing non-conformance to requirement, appraisal of the product or service for conformance to requirements, and failure no meet requirements. Good job! Leave comments if you need further clarification regarding any of the questions in this video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification so you will always get the latest updated exam questions.